Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Pumela Lezondi with your technology and social media news. I am in Soweto, where I will later find out about some healthcare technology. But remember that we are on SABC Network. No, that's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. This week in the show, we will have some bits on car technology. We also have information about EA pulling out of South Africa, and our conversation is looking at that healthcare technology. And our Twitter poll is asking about those issues that are continuing in America with Chinese companies. But results of that are coming up later in the program.
In the past, when we had gone to social gaming events here in South Africa, the majority would mention the FIFA video games. But they'll no longer be available as physical copies here in South Africa. This is because their distributor, Electronic Arts or EA Games, is pulling out of the country.
It will no longer be physically distributed in South Africa, and it's all moving into their plans of ensuring that people download the games digitally online. But that comes at a big cost. Most of them would be above 100 gigabytes.
This will affect social gamers without adequate internet access in South Africa. But video games developer Kim Chulu Mukenge hopes not too much.
We hope that it's not going to be a limitation in terms of an entry level to the game industry for most of our average users, our average players in the country, because of the connectivity issues. So we will be looking out and see how that will pan out and how much of an impact that will actually cause within the industry locally.
While this might not affect professional gamers as they play online, that too has challenges in South Africa. When we went to Comic-Con Africa, gaming events were stopped several times because of power outages there. Despite this, gaming is a growing industry in South Africa. Multiple Red Bull Hits the Streets champion, Japi Mabuza, says he started playing socially in the township of Alexandra.
I remember I used to go from street to street, because back then in my days, every street had an arcade. Every street had an arcade. Now they're like dying down, but every street had an arcade, and I used to go to a street from street to street just to find new challenges.
The Electronic Arts move will definitely affect budding Japi Mabuzas in many townships that do not have adequate internet connectivity. Apart from FIFA, other games that will no longer be available in physical copy because of the Electronic Arts decision to pull out of South Africa include Star Wars, Battlefield, and Need for Speed.
The majority of vehicles on South African roads use petrol, some use diesel, but there's also the introduction of electric vehicles now. But how will this go in a country that's been experiencing a lot of power outages? And who actually buys electric vehicles? Well, producer Sandile Hlangani went to the launch of an electric vehicle.
South Africa is seeing a slow but steady growth of electric car adoption compared to the rest of the globe. While this adoption has been low, technology experts believe that the spread of EV cars will continue to grow despite South Africa's unique energy constraints coupled with load shedding.
Internal combustion engines are being X'd out, so I think as time goes, things will keep getting better. Load shedding and the energy crisis is going to get better. So yes, in the future, EVs are going to keep coming in.
All automakers are transitioning to electric vehicles by at least 2030, if not sooner. And as you can see, if you can reference BMW, Mercedes, Audi, and also Aval, They are tapping into the electronic market, with the EV market.
Other challenges facing the sector includes lack of adequate infrastructure.
There are so few charging points and they just aren't catering for EVs because everything is still combustion, so that is gradually being phased out. So I think more money should be pumped into EV if we're going to make everything sustainable for electric vehicles going forward and for motorists that need their vehicles charged.
Nissan South Africa says it is launching the Nissan X-Trail e-Power as a solution to power challenges.
We think e-Power is a perfect solution before you go into full electrification because you get rid of the range anxiety. You don't have to worry about is the charging station going to be en route or in a functional condition. So we think it's the perfect technology to expose our customers to the full EV driving experience without the range anxiety.
The company says the advantage of e-Power technology is that the engine runs within its optimal range, leading to superior fuel efficiency.
We saw a need to have a vehicle that is permanently driven by an electric motor, however has supporting that to be able to charge that electric motor is a normal internal combustion engine. So it actually gives you that experience of driving an electric car.
The arrival of the e-Power version to the Nissan X-Trail range is expected to expand the options for potential customers in the country.
So we're on the launch of the Nissan X-Trail and we haven't heard pricing yet, but it should be quite pricey if you ask me.
Despite challenges to the electrification of the vehicle persist, opportunities worth fighting for also lay ahead.
This is a solution that actually brings about the new technology, brings about electrification, but in an environment that is as constrained, not having an infrastructure yet in place to be able to ensure that people can drive throughout the whole country without having range anxiety. So it's a perfect solution.
While there are a lot more tools that use artificial intelligence, we do know that ChatGPT has been a big talking point since December. But some are worried that as these launch, they don't have African consumers and users in mind.
Artificial intelligence and other technology advancements have been the subject of debate for several years. We have seen the African continent lag behind in some of these technology developments. Tech startup OpenAI created a chatbot called ChatGPT that has incited conversation in the educational sector, creative spaces, and other industries since its launch in November 2022. Furthermore, ChatGPT and similar systems have somewhat cemented the existence of artificial intelligence systems and their staying power in the future. However groundbreaking some of these technologies are, we cannot ignore the fact that most of them are built by the West for their unique issues. But where does that leave Africa and its various problems?
Most of the technology that has come up, even pre-AI, has always had the Western bias. Because the creators in the Western world can never be us, can never think like us. They can never put themselves in our shoes. So by virtue of that being, and us not being included in the origination of these technologies, it's already biased and we're excluded already. So we have to bend over backwards to try to fit these technologies into our culture, where sometimes there's actually discord, there's dissonance, where they don't exactly solve our problems as we would love them to naturally.
But it is not all doom and gloom for the mother continent, as there have been efforts by some researchers and organizations to build artificial intelligence systems with African problems in mind. These efforts are aimed at developing AI solutions that can address the unique challenges facing Africa in the healthcare, agriculture, education, and infrastructure sectors. One such organization working towards these efforts is tech startup Lelapa AI.
As Lelapa, we're trying to approach a number of problems, and they're in three main areas, right? Some are very unique to the African context, and some not so much. So the first one is this issue of brain drain on the continent. So all of our clever kids are thinking that there aren't opportunities on the continent for them to be clever, so they leave, or they join very large organizations where, in our opinion, their talent is lost to issues that don't help incite change. So that is the one problem we're trying to address from an African perspective. And the other problem is around ensuring that the solutions created for technical, through technology are particular to our context. So in the AI domain, a lot of the primary technology development has happened off of the continent, in the Western world, in the US or in Europe. And what this means is that the people creating it are, of course, from those particular places and don't necessarily have the type of understanding of where we come from, our types of problems, when they're creating those technologies. So we've had examples in the media of facial recognition technology not being able to recognize black skin, for example, which can be a problem if it's an application that is helping students get into their exams when they're taking exams online, or when it's on your Instagram or Twitter feed and it's now not recognizing that your face is there, or even a Zoom call, and now you've added a background and it can't recognize your face and it kind of erases you from the picture. It isn't necessarily intentional that they're trying to do these kinds of things, but because they just don't know or don't have that living experience of who we are, then these are the kinds of things that appear in the technology.
We asked these industry players about the readiness of Africa for AI-driven technologies.
When we try to make robots a replication of what humans can do already, then we aren't making the world any richer than it is, which is what technology is meant to do, right? It's supposed to make the world better for everybody. So when you have a robot that is taking orders at a hotel, is that really useful? No. If there's a problem, you need somebody you can talk to, who can identify with, who can help you with the issue, with the booking or whatever it is that you have. So in terms of us being ready for those kinds of things, I'm kind of not thinking of that being the space where we can apply AI technology. It should be in places that the technology can do better than us and to help augment our experience. So for example, in cases where we're expecting humans to do very dangerous jobs or dangerous work, or the work we're expecting them to do is a negative influence on their life experience, right? So, for example, in mining, it is a contentious topic to say that we should not be sending people underground, because for a lot of people that is their livelihood. But at the end of the day, we're shortening their life expectancy, we're giving them a poor quality of life, and we're exposing them to diseases that just make their life an unpleasant experience. And those are the kinds of things that machines would be able to do without the same kind of consequences. And if we're freeing up capacity in some spaces, then the hope is then that humans can be left to do work that they're really good at.
Our youth have to now just dive into these new technologies and learn and play with them and create and express themselves and bring out their thoughts, their aspirations and solutions to the problems that we have. Because these big infrastructure technologies exist, they are there, and we just have to take advantage of them, and hopefully one day we'll be able to catch up, maybe create our own deep tech. But for now, let's take advantage of what's there. Yeah.
Though slow in adopting and integrating certain technologies due to factors ranging from infrastructure to the availability of skilled labor, Africa has been making strides in the adoption of AI technologies in recent years, particularly in areas such as manufacturing and agriculture, to name a few.
SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. After the break, we go inside the Dr. S.K. Mateke Memorial Hospital in Soweto to find out about some healthcare technologies and the use of robotics in surgery. It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Now, I'm outside the Dr. S.K. Mateke Hospital in Soweto. It's part of the Cliniques group of hospitals. And the reason I'm here is because they recently did groundbreaking robotics orthopedic knee surgery. And I'm here to find out about all of that and how technology is now being used in surgery.
The particular purpose of this hospital has always been to serve the community. This hospital has a very rich history in terms of providing private healthcare to the Soweto community. It was the first of its kind from 1985, and clinics got involved in the late 90s to run the facility, as the group has been destined to do. We invested quite a bit into increasing the number of beds at the facility to provide a good service for our community, as well as brought overseas partners in to give us some of the top equipment that we have from Germany, and to also just be at the top of our game in a ever competitive field. We've currently undergone a new technological advancement in terms of assisted surgery in orthopedic surgery.
The introduction of robotics and other technologies in healthcare is ensuring that surgeons and other practitioners get better results. And clinic surgeries, especially this one here in Soweto, that's the SK Mateke Hospital, has been introducing new technologies in order for them to have better results for their patients. And one doctor who's going to talk to us about surgeries he's been doing recently, especially when it comes to orthopedic knee surgeries, is Dr. Shili Peter Maelane. Hello, thank you very much for joining us, Doctor. Maybe if we can start by explaining the importance of introducing robotics into the work that happens in surgeries.
The importance of robotics in surgery is that it streamlines conventional surgery, and it also improves your outcomes and your patient outcomes. So it's a very intuitive, but it's mostly human-based or human-controlled. I know robotics seems like it's something that is remote from human interaction, but as a surgeon, it's important to always be hands-on and still be the person in control of the actual surgery.
And with all of this, how much of the human hand is utilized?
I'd say that it's an enhancement. An example would be, in the past, we used to use maps to get around and stuff. And people thought that the advent of the GPS would then get rid of maps and etc. But you're integrating old methods into new technology. So you're still very hands-on. I'd say the surgeon is still the most important part of the operation itself, because if anything goes wrong, it goes back to the surgeon. You can't just say it's because of the robots that things went wrong. So the surgeon is still a very big part of the operation.
You talk about the machine being intuitive. Maybe we can explain that a little bit more and how that actually happens.
The machine, it has a database that has been built up to fill in the gaps, if I may say, and it then learns while in real time while you're doing a drawing on the knee, and it does mapping of the knee and it shows it on the screen in real time, and you're able to then configure what you have on the patient in real time. So that's why the machine is intuitive in that perspective.
This particular hospital is based in a township. How important is it to bring these technologies to township communities?
It's a big deal, because access to healthcare in the townships has always been, a huge problem. The population has been increasing over the years, and it hasn't been getting any less. In the past, people would then seek, going to towns and to the big cities to try and get healthcare. So it actually is, important that we have healthcare facilities, quality healthcare facilities in the townships.
The device behind us is what you've been using for the knee surgeries that you've been doing. Can you tell us about how it works and what it actually is?
This device, it's a Corey device from Smith & Nephew. It's a handheld robotic device. There are other companies in South Africa that are producing robotics as well. However, those machines are more static machines. They're placed at the hospitals, whereas this one is more of a portable device. And it's used specifically for now for knee replacement surgery. So there's primary replacements and there's total knee replacements. So this device is actually used for total knee replacements, and it's used for to improve patient outcomes and to get better results with robotics.
There'll always be skeptics, and there'll always be people who probably would say they don't want machines going into their bodies. What would you say to those skeptics?
It's more of an enhancement to the surgeon. The surgeon is still there. The surgeon is still very much hands-on. And it also has a check back system to make sure that you have checkpoints in through the operation to make sure that things do not move out of place, so that you can it's almost like a feedback system. And so it's very safe in that regard. However, obviously, if the surgeon is not paying attention and is maybe distracted for whatever reason, you can get poor results. But I think that is, an extreme case in that respect.
All right, Dr. Shilu Peter Mayelana, thank you very much for being a part of our network and joining the conversation. All right, today's SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. We'll continue the conversation after the break. SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Welcome back. Here's what else took place in the rest of the world in the technology space.
Researchers in Milan have created a prototype of an edible battery that they hope could revolutionize ingestible medical devices. The developers say it is the first example of a battery that is both completely edible and rechargeable.
So we have made the first example of an edible rechargeable battery. What is it? It's a rechargeable battery, so it's the same device we have all experience with, but it's made only with materials that we find already in food. The core of the device is represented by a couple of electrodes, basically. And to have it working, we are using two materials, two molecules. For the anode, we are using riboflavin, which is a vitamin that we can find in almonds, for example. And for the cathode, we are using quercetin. Quercetin is sold as a food supplement and can be found in capers, for example.
Other possible applications aside from health diagnostics include food quality monitoring and edible soft robotics. And now in Australia. A team of biomedical engineers in Australia have developed a small, flexible robot that can be used to 3D print biomaterials directly inside the human body in the hopes of streamlining future medical procedures.
We have developed a new type of flexible 3D printer that can deliver multi-layered biomaterials inside the human body. And this technology also can be used like all-in-one endoscopic tool that can help us to remove the cancer tumor inside the human body, such as the colon cancer or the gastric cancer.
Now, more Chinese companies are facing problems in the United States of America. This week, our Twitter poll is asking you if America is possibly doing a bit too much here, or maybe they are right in order for them to be fighting these Chinese companies. All right, and that's it. That's all we have for you, SABC Network. Now, that's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za, on email. From me, Spumelele Zondi, and the rest of the team right here in Soweto. Have a good one. Bye-bye.